Hi there and welcome to the channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. My name is Kjetil, Lima Bravo for Foxtrot Hotel, and today I'm going to give you my 1.5 year review of the JPC-12 antenna. This is an antenna I've covered many times before on the channel, both the stock package, which I reviewed after using it for 3 months, and different random add-ons that I've gotten over the year and a half that I had this. And today I think I'm going to summarize it. Firstly, this is an antenna I bought for myself with my own money. It's not an affiliated thing or anything like that. I just want to share because there was a lot of weird information out there. And people seem to have enjoyed the previous videos I've done about it. And in this video, I'm not going to cover how to use the antenna. That is very well covered. I'll leave a playlist up here somewhere. But I'm going to tell you about how this antenna has fared after being used quite heavily for 1.5 years. So first, let's have a look at how I've used it. And for me, this has been pretty much my go-to antenna for portable operations since I bought it. I have been using a quarter wave ground plane a bit and some other antennas, but for portable operations, which I've had a few hundred of with summits on the air and parks on the air, then this is the one I've used the absolute most. I've used it in any kind of weather condition we can get here in Norway and outside of Norway as well, from very hot summer days to using it on a frozen lake, using it in a storm, something that turned into hurricane later, and that did not go well, to say it that way. This antenna, it's not storm safe. There's a video up here showing what happened when this one meets gusts of, 25 meters per second or something, and the whips, they're not made for that. And it's worked fine in most of those conditions. There are some issues with it when it comes to weather. I mentioned the wind. Another issue is that since these ones are aluminium and they are threaded together like this, they are pretty heat sensitive, meaning that they will contract and extract. So if you have this one in a hot car and then you have it in a backpack that's somewhat insulated, you rig it up, you screw it together, and you tighten it really nice and well, and then this one cools down. Doesn't have to be very much below freezing, and they will contract so much that you basically can't get them apart except using excessive force. So it's pretty temperature sensitive. Also, the threads are sensitive for getting sand or ice or water or anything else in, but that's something you have to expect. But the temperature part of it, they are very finely machined, but it does have some drawbacks like that. When it comes to the whips, I always carry 2 of these. And that's because I bought these ones off a dodgy Chinese website, and the quality on these ones vary a lot. I got a shipment of 3 where one was broken already when I got it. It had a huge dent in it. Another one broke after 2 uses, and the third one, well, that is something I didn't dare use. Of course, I did also break one in the storm, but that was mostly my fault. But that was the original, and the original that came with this was significantly better than these aftermarket ones. Also, I bought a long whip, the 5.6 meter whip, which to my knowledge is from a reputable dealer, and that was also defective when I got it. It was easy to fix, but still it's a defective unit. So there's a high error rate on these, and I expected there would be some problems with it, but not that many. But on the other hand, I haven't broken one of these now in over half a year. So the ones I have now seem to be good, but I think that's more like a lucky draw that you get the ones that were produced on a good day. Another critical part that I have had some issues with, not critical but still annoying enough, that's the coil. And you can see the coil here. If you can see this bar going over here, that is actually bent. So in the middle it's actually bent up quite a bit. And that means that if you leave it here in the middle and you pack it down, then you risk that this happens and it's side on. And it was really easy to bend out of there, but it's not easy to get it back on. So actually, for my end, I usually use a key under here, lift it up and then push it into place. And that's a pretty bad design flaw. When you know how to deal with it, it's not a big problem. On the other hand, this is only going to get worse over time. And I cannot imagine that the aftermarket ones are any better on this. And also the bigger one for the JPC-350, that's an even longer span. That will also bend like that. So yeah, that's an issue. But other than that, this coil works really well. And the setup with having one color here for 20 and one for 40 down there, or other way around, depending on if you hold it the correct way, that works quite well. And for going on 20 and 40 meters, I usually don't really need to use a VNA. But if you want to go on anything other than that, if you want to go on a work band, or if you want to go on 15 meters or whatever, yes, you can go off some sort of table of approximate dimensions, but you're going to have to do quite a lot of tuning, and that's significantly easier if you have a VNA. So I had a nano VNA, which I've shown in some of the other videos here, and mine has pretty much been worn out in the 1.5 years I've been using it out in the field, because that's a device that's not suitable for it. It's more for playing around indoors. So you're gonna have to invest in something like a Rig Expert stick or something similar like that, or stick to the bands, or just of course live with doing a lot of tuning. So it's kind of heavy to go on anything else. So with this one, you'll mostly see me on 20 and 40. On the other hand, when you do get a decent tune on it, it's pretty well on. It's usually below like 1.4 to 1 or thereabouts. So I'm happy with that. In my previous video on the JPC-12, I showed you this, the ground plane or radial plane, and how bad that is. If you haven't seen it, the video is up here somewhere. And don't buy these. These, at least for my use, was just atrociously badly made. Maybe you can make it work, but no, stay away from that. So I've actually gone back to the original design with this, and this, I think, is the biggest design flaw of the entire antenna, but it's one you can live with because it's very, very easy to do a field repair on it. If you don't know, the ground plane of the JPC-12 stock is a ribbon cable like this, and it comes with a small loop on the end here, just a small eyelet crimp-on thing, and that doesn't work. It works in a way that it actually lets you connect and lets you tune and all of that, and that doesn't last. This kind of wire, it is very susceptible for fatigue. So when you have a sharp bend on it, like you will have in there, this will just break over time. And that time, at least for my original one, was somewhere in a few weeks or something like that before I had to repair it. And I've had to repair this 4 or 5 times during the 1.5 years I've had it. And I know a lot of others use other cables for this. I've chosen not to, because this works pretty well. And when you have to repair it, it is a very quick repair. Also, you can also field repair this by just pinching it in between the ground plane and the rest of the antenna. So, like, there's no problem with it, other than the fact that you do have to repair it over and over and over again. So there, I can see where they got the idea of this. This one simply didn't work, so don't use that. I've also been so lucky that I've been able to try out the biggest competitor for this antenna during the last year, the M812. And it's very hard to say if this is a better antenna than the M812 or not. I would say this is more flexible, given that it's really easy to extend it to go to 60 or 80 if you have the extra links and so on. But you can also do that with the M812. The M812 has a better ground plane connection, but from what I've seen, these also break off, and they're using some very tiny banana connectors, which could have been done in a much, much better way than what's done there. And of course, the M812 has one very long whip, and that one is very specially made with markings on it and so on. So if that breaks, then you pretty much have to buy a genuine one or a similar one, which are going to be harder to find than the generic ones you get for the JPC-12. If I had to make the choice today, if I wanted to buy the MA12 or the JPC-12, I do think I would have landed on the MA12, but that would be with a very narrow margin. And this is still an antenna I really enjoy using and that I'm going to keep using for many years. I don't see anything in a MA12 that I would consider changing this for. It's just that if I bought one from scratch, I would have gone with that. Or maybe there's something even better on the market. If you know of anything, then, well, feel free to write below there. Maybe you have some other experiences as well. Another very positive thing about the antenna is that it's small. And it does fit within, of course, a backpack like this, or even a smaller one. So if you have a small radio, then you have a tiny setup, and you can pretty much carry this wherever you're going. It's really nice and light to use. It's quick enough to rig up, at least when you get used to it. So yeah, it's a decent choice nonetheless. I think I would like to summarize this antenna in that it's a small antenna. It's brought me a lot of joy for the money I paid for it. I know it's not a cheap one, but it's not horrendously expensive either compared to the radio. It's been with me on a lot of trips, to places I will remember, to activations I will remember, in heavy weather, in cold weather, in beautiful weather. And it will keep joining me on trips for many, many years going forward. I thoroughly enjoy using this antenna. And sometimes it's a bit frustrating, but you could say the same for every other antenna. Every antenna is a compromise, especially for portable radios. They are lightweight, they are compact, they are not perfect, but they work, and they get you out there, out to the world, and they bring the world to you. I hope this was interesting and that you've enjoyed this and perhaps the other videos in this JPC-12 series as well. And thank you very much for watching. 7-3.